All right, so I've cleared my table. And so I've got this log of solid clay, and I'm gonna make this into a coil, which I'm gonna use to build up the height of my table. So I've got this, and I'm going to just take it on the table and roll it back and forth with two of my hands. So it's just like this motion. And I'm rolling out from the middle. So I'm in the middle, rolling towards the outside. Every now and then you might arrive at a point where it's like kind of flatter on one side and longer on the other side. You can just tap it on the table or just press it with your fingers or run your fingers along it to smooth it. If it at any point gets any kind of folds or inconsistencies, it wants to do that. Just be gentle with it and roll from the middle to the outside, back to the middle. Okay, your goal is to make something that's about the thickness of your thumb. So you can make coils of any size and they will be successful. They could be very small, but that's going to make the walls of your pot really thin. And if you make your coils a little bit bigger, it goes faster coiling because you're adding more clay at once. So from the middle to the outside. My cat's down here, gonna maybe join us. You gonna join us? All right, so here I've got my first coil. Nice flexi clay. And then I can bring my slab that I had started with back to the occasion. And what I'm gonna do to attach this and start building up my height, I wanna first decide how tall I'm gonna ultimately want my piece to be. So this is a time when like looking at, a mug in your kitchen would be helpful for scale. So this mug here, which I like how it feels in my hand, is 4 inches tall. And I think I'm gonna aim for 4 inches tall. I'm going to be building it so that it looks somewhat organic. So a little bit less obsessed with symmetry than I might be in other types of coiling projects. And I'm actually really trying to embrace the idea of Wabi-Sabi with this one. So I'm trying to let it be loose. All right, so I'm gonna take my slip. I can spin this while I apply my slip. Look at how quickly that goes. And I can apply slip to my coil. All along, I'm gonna do slipping and scoring on both sides. So first I apply slip, and you can do it with a finger, you can do it with a paintbrush. I like the paintbrush because it keeps my fingers clean. And then you can use any tool, you can use anything sharp. So you could use a needle tool. You could use this cutting tool. If you have one, you can use the rake tool that has many prongs, which is like having like a bunch of different needle tools. Any of these will work. I will use the needle tool to show you what it looks like if you have like the least of the good tools. So I'm going around the outer edge and I'm just scratching that up all the way around once. So I've gone around one time. Okay, that's not enough. I'm gonna put a little bit more slip on there. This first coil is very important because this is what holds your whole thing together. Okay, putting a little bit slip on again, and I'm actually gonna go in a different direction than the marks that I just made. Okay, so I've come around a second time, and that's looking pretty juicy, but just for good measure, I'm gonna come around a third time. Now my piece does have enough slip on it. If yours still feels dry and it doesn't feel like gooey, it should look like raw hamburger. It should look really messed up and really gooey by the time you are done with that. All right, and then you're gonna do the same to your coil. So you're gonna, go in the one direction. So I'm scratching it, but you can see like there's space between these scratch marks. You can go in another direction, add a little bit more slip in there. Okay, you get it. I'm gonna use my super fast tool for the benefit of speed here. Obviously this goes a lot faster because it has many prongs on the end of it. The main takeaway here is just that you need your piece to be really roughed up and really look like you've disrupted the texture and the arrangement of all the little platelets of clay. Okay, and then I'm going to take that and I'm going to align the scratched up parts to each other. And then when I get to the end here, I'm actually going to take a tool and carve through both and take off my little scraggly looking end. And then I can just lightly scratch. There's enough slip already kind of on my fingers that I can get away with not slipping those two ends together. All right, so now those are stuck together and I'm putting my excess aside. Okay, so now this is sitting here. This is not yet attached. So from here, I'm gonna take, this is a very important step. A lot of people forget this step and that's why their piece might come apart or not be well attached. So I've just aligned those parts and now I'm gonna hold my fingers on either side and I'm going to push down to squish the scratched up parts and the scratched up parts and squish them into each other. Okay, so I'm just going around, holding it on either side and pressing down on top. And this is just making my attachment actually attach. Okay, so I've pushed it on and it's on now, but I can tell where the coil is and where the piece is. Okay, so from here on out, I'm going to be doing a bunch of blending. It is possible to blend with your fingers, but I'll show you a different close-up in just a moment. All right, so let's talk about blending. You could use a popsicle stick. This is a great tool. Or you could use any tool that looks kind of wooden, like this one has a beveled tip. You can also use your fingers once you get the hang of it, but I'll ask that you use a popsicle stick if you're one of my students. All right, so we're gonna start off by doing the interior blend. It doesn't matter if you do the outside or the inside first, it really doesn't matter. But the main thing is you're gonna hold your hand there and you're going to press down just a little bit of the clay all the way around. So I'm pressing this and basically welding. So you can't see where, you see how on this side you can see where the connection point was, but on this side it's been welded. So I'm gonna go all the way around and just blend that on. My hand on the outside supports the outside to keep it from going anywhere. Okay, and now you can see the entire inside has been welded. The outside also needs to be welded. It's a little trickier when you're doing your first one. You kind of need to use the side. And it does make some clay come down and come off. Okay, and then you can use your fingers to just wipe off the excess on the inside and on the outside. All right, if anything at this point seems like it's not quite right, fix it before you move on to your next coil. So I'm just coming around, smoothing it. I'm kind of pinching it, checking for the thickness to be consistent. All right, so that's nice and smooth. So I can move on to doing my next coil. So I had this one and I already slipped and scored it, but I don't think it's long enough to go all the way around. So I'm just gonna make that a little longer and check it. All right, so now it's long enough to go all the way around and it's gonna be the same process that I just engaged in. So I'm gonna put on slip on both things. And I'm gonna score. So you can put your hand on this and spin it while you score. It will make it go faster. Okay, so that looks really hamburgery already. My clay was very wet. Slipping and scoring both sides. All right, and so I'm gonna line those up. You can see this is not pushed on yet. Very important step, holding it, push, push, push. So I'm connecting that coil and pushing it before I blend it. You don't just blend it, you have to squish it on, okay? The importance of this pinched part is that it supports it while I do it, okay? So now I'm moving on to my next one. Once again, I'm gonna blend my inside. So I'm holding my hand so that it doesn't distort. And I'm just blending that on. Okay, so I've blended my entire inside part. Now I can blend my outside. And the second coil is a lot easier. So I'm holding my hand across from where I'm blending. Okay, and I want to make it so that I cannot tell where one coil attached to the other, so that it's really well connected. Okay, and from here, once again, you can use a finger to smooth it out. You could also just use your popsicle stick. So I'm holding this and pushing it around and just dragging it against my popsicle stick. Another option that you could use is dragging it against a rib tool. Okay, and that can work really well. When it gets taller, the rib tool becomes even handier. Okay, so you're gonna repeat that process until you've achieved the height that is your goal. So I'm gonna be slipping and scoring and slipping and scoring until I reach the 4-inch goal that I had. So right now, after my 2 coils, I'm here at about, what, 1.5 inches-ish? So I've got quite a few more coils left to go. If I want it to get bigger, I'm gonna be flexing the coil slightly out. If I want it to go in and get smaller, I'm gonna flex the coil slightly in a similar way to like how you did when you did a pinch pot. All right, so let's coil.